Chargers at the Broncos. Broncos favored by 3.5. Russell Wilson has been sat down, benched by the Broncos. Jarrett Stidham making the start. It'll now be the second straight start that Jarrett Stidham is the replacement for the overpriced starter who is only sitting pretty much so that he doesn't get injured, so that the team doesn't have to pay him more money. Jarrett Stidham, specialist.
He's now becoming the Grim Reaper meme, with the doors and the blood trail. Like Jarrett, if your team signs Jarrett Stidham and you're a, not necessarily secure veteran quarterback, get worried.
I already have Giants fans predicting Stidham to the Giants next year and starting week 18, 17, whatever, for Daniel Jones or whatever. So that's what we have here. There's all sorts of spin coming out. This football decision. It's so Denver's not eliminated from playoff contention.
No, that's what makes it really interesting.
We didn't talk about them yesterday on our elimination show, which you should go check out. They're not eliminated. And so Sean Payton's we're just trying to win week 17 game here. That's all we're trying to do. Game.
Gives us the best chance to win.
Yeah.
We can't call him friend of the show anymore because we're rivals in our award-winning attempt to
whisper his name so people don't hear it.
Greg with 2 G's, Rosenthal,
Greg,
tweeted that Sean Payton versus Russell Wilson in a passive-aggressive source-off is going to be like prime Brady Manning. Like, that's what's happening right now is both teams, their people are in full action to just feed their side of the story to the media. And there's plenty of media who are perfectly willing to just copy and paste those texts.
And Sean, in that source off, Sean was like trying to pull Russ's legs out from under him, stole his office.
Yep.
Right? I mean, how's Russ? Russ was probably had it all wired and set up, and he took his office away.
I mean, that's the whole PR infrastructure gone right there. He's chopped his PR legs out from under him.
Yeah. Sean has the upper hand there.
Yeah.
Because he took the office. Sean presumably has his own office.
You would think.
Russ doesn't. He has a locker. What are you going to do from a locker?
Not much.
It's tough.
It is an interesting thing, though, that so the reports were that this has been percolating for a while. They basically, it sounds like they tried to blackmail him. They came to him in October and said, hey, we've basically decided at this point you're not the guy. We're going to go in a different direction. And if you don't waive the injury clause in your contract that gives you 37 more million guarantees if you get hurt the rest of the year, we're going to have to sit you down because we don't want to risk that money, right? And that was questionable enough that the NFLPA and lawyers got involved. And I don't know if that's what dragged it out until December the 28th before they finally did it. But this has been coming for a while, and yet it finally happens 2 weeks to go before the end of the season with the playoffs still there.
Yeah, I mean, think about what was happening in October, right? The defense was one of the worst in NFL history. They were going to play the Chiefs 2 out of the next 3 weeks, and they were probably staring 1-8.
Yeah.
Down. And if they were 1-8, he would have been sat then.
Right.
Just because they were like, well, this is a disaster. We have to get out from under this. And then they started winning games, right? Then they beat Kansas City. They beat Buffalo. They started winning these football games, and they were in the mix. They were 1 game out of first place just 2 weeks ago in the AFC West. And then Christmas Eve was a disaster.
Because that's the big difference between this and the Raiders situation, right? Is that the Raiders, they basically sat him down as soon as they were eliminated last year.
Yeah.
Whereas Denver are still alive and they're sitting him down.
I mean, they're mostly eliminated. I think if any other team wins in the AFC, they're probably out. I haven't looked at it closely. I mean, the Raiders have an easier track at the AFC West, I think, than the Broncos at this point.
Yes.
I believe. Again, I haven't looked at it closely.
No, Denver are the bottom of they're literally the last team that isn't technically eliminated in terms of chances.
Yeah, so look, I get it from a business standpoint, but you're right. It's interesting that they went at it earlier. Makes you I mean, look, that's what Russ signed up for, You signed up for an injury clause. You have to understand when you negotiate for something, there are also your unintended consequences are real, right? Now, I know Russ is never going to think, well, man, I could suck in 2 years and they could sit me so I don't get my injury money. But he wasn't thinking about that. He's like, of course, this is what I want.
It is fairly funny that they're going to get rid of him before the extension actually kicks in. If they just left him on the contract they traded for, he would have. It's ending now.
We'll spend more offseason time, I think, or whatever, other time talking about that. But that ended up being the biggest mistake for the Broncos. I don't mind the aggressive move and giving up picks to go get a quarterback for a team that at that time was just treading water at QB. I don't mind it, but it was when they just out of goodwill extended him and added all that money.
Yeah, well, so goodwill. It came months after the trade, right? Like they traded for him in March. They didn't sign the new deal till the start of August, I think. I do think, though, that it was kind of contingent on the deal. Like, Russ had a no trade clause, right? So he dictated where he could go.
Yeah.
I do feel that there was some sort of like handshake involved of I'm only coming here if you're extending me. And then it just took the months to work out the details, like crap like this, right? The injury clause, blah, blah, blah. But I don't think they could have just sort of it would have been rough if that was the way it worked and they said, hey, Russ, we're going to extend you if you come here. He waives the no trade clause. They trade for him and then go, joking, you're under contract for 2 years. That wouldn't have worked.
Yeah, we'll have to revisit that. Remember at the time, Russ was in Seattle. He was going on the Dan Patrick show. They have to build around me. And then Seattle's like, we'll build around you. We signed Gabe Jackson to play guard. So part of it was probably like, we got to have a happy Russ to get the best Russ. So we're going to do well by him. Denver, they're paying for it right now. So Jarrett Stidham's getting the start for Denver. Both Chargers are eliminated on the other side. They gave Buffalo a game last week in Giff's first game as head coach.
Yeah.
Denver by 3.5. Where are you going with this one?
Yeah, I don't know what to make of this game with Jarrett Stidham at quarterback. He looked pretty good for like a game when he came in late last year, but that's probably not.
Easton Stick looked better last week, his second start. So could be a sneaky good game with no implications.
Yeah. God, I don't know what to make of this game. Backup quarterbacks everywhere, hurt people everywhere. Denver.
I'll take Denver. Backup QB bump for Denver.
Backup QB bump.
I mean, if Stidham comes in and deals with Sean Payton, I can't wait to see what Payton wants to do at QB. That's going to be.
Well, particularly with where they are, having given up what they've given up for not just Russ, but for Sean Payton.
Yeah.
And now where they are in terms of having won enough games to torpedo draft stock.
Hey, Drew, can you still throw?
He said he couldn't. He has to throw left-handed to
his
his kids.
He can't even pick his arm up.
Yeah.
I mean, he was still completing 70% of his passes doing that, with the
Without
Saints.
being able to lift his arm above his shoulder.